But we're going to kick off with someone that I've known for a long time, but I've never really sat down and asked what I want to talk about today, and that is, what's it take to outfit these guys? And you, because there's a lot of fans out there that like to wear the Elvis in their everyday life. And life is anything but everyday if you're wearing Elvis fashion out into the wild, as we say. So we're going to talk about that, and they have a table out there. You might own a piece of clothing or a scarf or a piece of jewelry from B&K, but we're going to bring Robin Theobald from B&K, the costume company that puts together all these outfits, and we're going to talk to Robin. Welcome her out here, everybody. Here's Robin. And you'll be right there. Welcome, welcome, welcome. You brought some friends here, which is very nice. It looks so much better on them than if, I was holding a hanger or something. So we love that. So first of all, you guys have done such a great job of really being at a lot of festivals, because there's so many festivals. You more than anybody probably know how many there are, because you guys are traveling to so many of them. You always have tables, you always have things, and it's a way for the fans to kind of have a little bit of that fashion in their life. But first of all, tell us about B&K. What is, we always hear about that, B&K.
Okay. So Butch and Kim Holston, they're our owners, and they started B&K in 1980. It started with something small. Butch really wanted a jumpsuit. She said, if you could have anything in the world, what would you want? He said, I'd love one of Elvis's jumpsuits. And she's like, honey, I don't think that's going to ever happen. And so he's like, well, maybe we can make one. So they got together with, I think, somebody's aunt, and they put together like 2 jumpsuits. First time, they were a little rough, but, and they took them to Memphis during Elvis, one of the first Elvis weeks, I think. And they went to the Holiday Inn, and they had a big swap meet. And everybody would like bring their, memorabilia and things, and they would put them in their rooms, and they would open their doors, and people would just go from room to room, looking at what everybody had. And they had their suits laid out on the bed, and this gentleman came in, and he said, what you want for those? Like, these aren't for sale, these are mine. And he was like, I'll give you $1,000. And she's like, okay. And then she's like, we can make another one, honey. We'll make another one. And so they're like, maybe we could just do this like all the time. And so they had other jobs, and they just did this on the side for probably 5 years. And then they're like, I think we could probably do this full time. And then they just,
At that time, was the market more fans that were doing this, or were there tribute artists that were starting to find out where to go?
Yeah, already tribute artists were at that point starting.
Yeah. What we're going to find out a little later is, because we're going to see some images of some of our tribute artists early in life putting together their own jumpsuits. I have to say B&K is up to the level of quality for
but the creativity sometimes they put into it.
Yeah.
Pretty good too.
There are people in Elvis's life in that fashion category, and Bill Ballou is the name that we hear of. And if you think that the Elvis jumpsuits that B&K manufacture and make are so perfect to what Bill did, there's a reason for that.
Right. After a few jumpsuits, the Colstons thought, we better find out if we need to get permission to do this. We don't want to, upset anybody or step on anybody's toes. So they did some research. At that point, there was no internet, so they had to do it the old-fashioned way. And they found out who made all of Elvis's suits, and they tracked down Bill in LA. They wrote him a letter and basically asked him permission. And he was so floored that anybody would ask permission to copy something that he invited them to come to LA. And they came out and spent like a week with him, and he taught them a whole lot of different things, gave them some patterns, gave them some tips and tricks. And eventually they were family friends, and he came and he would visit him, and he eventually gave them all of his copyrights for all of the artwork that you see on the suits. So any suit that Bill designed, we have a copyright for.
And so that remained the property of Bill, and that design and that pattern and all of that. I'm surprised that Elvis's management team didn't jump on owning.
Whoever creates the artwork is the,
Yeah.
And I mean, anybody can make a jumpsuit, that's obviously, because like Bill actually made the Osmonds jumpsuits as well, so you see a lot of...
Yeah, there was an era there in the mid-'70s, and I found this out if you were at Elvis Week in August, this past August, we had Jay Osmond there from the Osmonds, and I had the cover Phase 3 album by the Osmonds that have them all in jumpsuits, and they have different colored scarves.
They each one had a different color.
And I thought as a kid when that came out in the 70s, wow, they're copying Elvis. Jay told the story of the Osmonds that Elvis saw the Osmonds, loved the Osmonds, but he said he couldn't tell who was who because they were wearing regular clothes. So he says, I'm going to send my wardrobe guy. And he sent Bill, and Bill's the one that designed the Osmonds. But there were a lot of entertainers back in that era. Marty Robbins had jumpsuits kind of like that with the big collar.
A lot of people did.
That was kind of the era, but Elvis was the trendsetter in that.
Right, yeah, definitely.
So these styles, there's also another gentleman that worked in styling this with Bill, and there's an interesting story about how you found Gene.
Gene Doucette, he did the embroidery work for Elvis. So any suit that has embroidery, like these two examples here, Gene designed those. He also designed the Aloha suit as well. Some of the more heavily studded suits that were later on in his career, Bill designed those. The King of Spades, also known as the kitchen sink suit, because it had just every stone and stud he could get a hold of. But they got with Bill, and he's like, you really need to get with Gene. I'll hook you up with him. Well, they found Gene, and he was working in a restaurant as a waiter at that point, because I guess he had,
the guy who embroidered Elvis's jumpsuits is working as a waiter in a restaurant.
And so they found him, and they said, hey, would you want to come work for us? So that's what we did. And he worked for us up until just last December from LA. We would send a suit to him, and he would embroider it and send it back, and then we would do all the embellishments and assembly. And he retired in December. He just turned 72, I think.
Wow.
Yeah.
And you were saying the kitchen sink. What's it like at B&K? First of all, where do you get the things that are on the jumpsuit? The bling or rhinestones or whatever you call it.
Tough one.
Yeah.
Because you'll get them from a place for a while, and then suddenly they're like, oh yeah, that's discontinued, and then you got to go search and find someone else.
Yeah.
It's a constant battle to find the right stuff and the most accurate things, because not everything they made in 1970 is made now.
Yeah.
So sometimes you can get it custom made, and sometimes you can just find it.
Any true Elvis fan that dives deep into it can see the change of jumpsuits, because the jumpsuit came around, it wasn't there during the first engagement. He had a two-piece.
Right.
And that was changed because he was having wardrobe malfunctions, jackets were riding up and pants were falling down.
Mm-hmm.
So the jumpsuit,
it solved that problem, yeah.
Bill took it from the gi, right? The karate gi.
Yeah, that's the Cossack suit that looked a lot like that.
Yeah.
And then went from there, it kind of morphed into one of the first jumpsuits, did the concho.
And those were rather simple, and seemingly it looks a little like it would be lighter than a later bejeweled jumpsuit.
Right, yeah. I mean, a poncho suit's going to weigh maybe 3 or 4 pounds at the most.
And the heaviest suit, what's the heaviest suit?
It's going to be somewhere between probably the King of Spades suit or the the flame suit. I believe you probably saw Liam Hewitt wearing studded flame. Both of those together, if you get a suit and a cape and a belt, it's going to be about 21 to 24 pounds for the whole ensemble. So yeah, they can be pretty hefty.
And Robin and I were talking backstage, and she verified the story that I'd always heard about the Aloha. Elvis wanted something special from Bill. It was going worldwide, around the world on satellite, and he wanted something that represented America. So Bill created the Aloha, and Gene, the Aloha Eagle, and Bill designed a floor-length cape, but that wasn't exactly a good thing.
That thing weighs 26 pounds all by itself, just the cape. So when he put it on, he couldn't stand up. And so they're like, Gene, you have to come up with something fast. And they had to basically get on a plane with it. They had to do it really fast to get on the plane and fly it there.
To Hawaii.
Yeah, last minute.
And then he ends up throwing it in the audience.
Yeah. And then they had to make another one.
Yeah. So that thing was lost forever, and now it's back home.
The full length. We got that. We had the opportunity to have it in our shop. The gentleman who owns it has had it in a box for several years, and he is starting a small museum. And so he knows our owner, and he was like, hey, I need some help. This cake looks rough. And got to lay it out on the table, and everybody got to just gather around it. And just, there's pictures of us all just like staring at it.
Like a holy grail.
It is. And so we did a lot of repair because it was really bad. They had been on display at some point, and someone had put a pole, like they had taken the lining apart and put a hole in it, so and so all that weight for years and it finally just ripped out. It was a mess. So yeah, we restudded some stuff that was missing. We found out that it was made from studs that we weren't aware of, like stones that we don't have.
Yeah.
It was pretty.
Oh my gosh.
Pretty awesome.
So if a tribute artist goes to see a tribute artist or somebody up and coming, and yesterday they had youth competition, and all these kids just looked like $1 million. They had like your stuff on, because this is what I love, B&K, no missed audience. They make a version for women, and you make a version for young people.
Yep, any size, any size.
Yeah. And so if I'm an ETA, and I talk to my favorite ETA, and I find out that, where did you get your job? I get it from B&K, and I'm new in the business. What's the process? How do I begin that process of getting B&K to make me a jumpsuit?
Well, first thing you do is find you an experienced tailor that can just measure you. We have people come to the shop a lot and get measured, but if you can find somebody that can just do basic measurements on you, we have instructions on our website on how to do so, and a chart. We take those measurements and we make you a fitting or a shell. It's basically just a plain white jumpsuit that has no lining, there's nothing on it, it's not hemmed, and we send that to you, because most people that we deal with live far from us for the most part.
You're in Indiana.
We're in southern Indiana,
yeah.
So we have customers from all over the world. We send them a fitting with detailed instructions, and they try on their fitting. They pin it if it needs pinned, or they tell if it's too tight, And once they've sent us pictures that have detailed instructions, they send that fitting back to us. We make any changes that need made, then we send it over, and it starts the studding process. It goes from studding then back to the seamstresses, and then they assemble everything. And in the meanwhile, Butch makes all of our belts, and so then he would make the belt while the suit's being put together.
So how long is that process?
It really depends on the suit and how many orders we have ahead of time. At any given time, for the most part, on the average, we have about 100 jumpsuit orders at one time, pretty much continuously, like all year long.
Are the guys that are here this weekend, are they some of your best customers?
They are, actually, yes.
Yeah. I was going to say,
repeat customers. Yes.
They talk shop with you when you guys hang out. They're talking about, well, this, I will tight, and I think this. Yeah. They're always tweaking and looking for things. And I would think you learn a lot about how these work by talking to them.
Well, sure. Yeah. I mean, you learn not just through what moves they're doing or what kind of concert they're recreating. What we need to do differently. Elvis only used suits a few times, where these guys are using the same suit over and over and over. So you have to make sure that it's going to hold up to all that movement and laying on the floor and whatever else they're doing, kicking and the whole 9 yards.
Could you cheat and make them lighter? Or would that be, or it wouldn't look the same, I would think.
It's really hard to make them lighter because, the materials are pretty much as light as you can get. We try to use acrylic stones when we can. Acrylic is much lighter, but sometimes a stone is just unavailable except in glass. And when you get a glass stone, a lot of glass stones, you have a really heavy suit.
Yeah.
So to be accurate, sometimes it ends up being 26 pounds.
Yeah. That's just what it weighs. Yeah. It's not just ETAs or young people. It's you guys have you get calls from Hollywood, and so if some of us saw the Baz Luhrmann movie, we saw the work of B&K on screen.
Yeah, we did 38 total suits that movie. Some of those duplicates, but for the most part, and a lot of them you didn't even get to see. It's a bit of a bummer, but we're hoping when they come out with an extended version, you'll see some more.
I'd heard that every one of those quick shots that Austin did the complete show, in each jumpsuit.
Yeah.
So there are complete unseen concerts
Yeah,
with
there are.
each individual suit.
Yeah.
So you worked on the Baz movie. You worked on Elvis, and I'm thinking too in the Austin Butler movie. Did they send in Austin's measurements, or did you volunteer to go to California?
Yeah, we volunteered, but that didn't work.
Or Australia? It would have been Australia.
Right.
Yeah.
Catherine Martin, Baz's wife and the costume director, she flew to our shop and came and spent the whole day with us, which was pretty awesome. And she had this giant, brought it, I spaced and forgot. It's this big portfolio that she brought us, and she had got to go to the archives at Graceland, and they let her take pictures of so many things. Like she got to like lay the suits out, open them up, and so we got to see like how they were sewn in the hems, and it was really cool because he wanted it exactly like Elvis's. Like we machine stitch our hems because the guys are hard on things, but Elvis's were hand stitched, so she wanted them hand stitched.
And I read that in recreating the '68 comeback, if in 1968 when they were shooting at Burbank, if there was a young lady in a green dress next to a guy in a red sweater next to a woman in a yellow dress, Baz wanted wanted it exactly the way it was. Even though maybe we're not going to know, that's his commitment to getting it right.
Yeah,
And so
she said that he was stick. I can't really. I don't know exactly what wording she used. I probably can't repeat it.
It was Australia.
Right. He was very particular.
Yeah.
About
Yeah. And Elvis and Nixon, Michael Shannon.
Yes.
When Elvis goes to the White House.
We did I think maybe just a couple of costumes, 2 or
Yeah.
3 for that one. We've done some stuff for when Ellen still had the Ellen show. We did some things for her. She wanted a surprise jumpsuit for her Halloween special for, I can't think of his name, Aquaman.
Jason Momoa.
Yes, we wanted a pink aloha. We did a big pink aloha for him because he's a really guy.
He's Aquaman.
No fitting. They call like the day before or 2 days before, and they're like, "We need this." And we're like, "Ah."
Is it true that, and he told me, but I'm going to ask you, that Austin Butler, when he was on SNL, they wanted a jumpsuit, but what happened with that phone call?
Well, we scrambled around, and we had a few things that might work, but the person wearing it was going to be so small, nothing we had, even with alterations, would have worked at all. So finally I'm like, who do I know that's small that has jumpsuits? Cote. And so we called in an emergency. He sent his suit, and we got to,
Cody's suit was on Saturday Night Live.
Yeah.
One day Cody will be on Saturday Night Live.
Leave that.
But his jumpsuit made it. And you guys, and one of the and I looked it up, and I thought you had to be involved in 3,000 Miles to Graceland, and you were.
Yeah.
I mean, you made a lot. The company made a lot for that.
Right before I got hired.
Yeah.
I missed that whole fun thing. But yeah, we did. It was less than 38 though. We did less than what we did for the Elvis movie.
Wow.
But we had to do like doubles. Like we had to do 4 suits, I think, for each. Because you had the main actor, and then everybody had a stunt double. So everybody had 2 costumes. So that was quite a few.
We did a thing when I was at Turner, and we interviewed Kurt Russell about Elvis, and he had been in the movie. It happened at the World's Fair as a little kid, kicking Elvis, and then he had played Elvis in the '70s, and then he put the jumpsuit back on when he did that movie. And he said, "There's something about when you put a jumpsuit on, even if you don't feel like Elvis, you put it on, and suddenly you're walking like him, and the collar." He says, "The way you turn your body, the way you turn with the collar, just really you feel it. You kind of know what he was,
One of the things I enjoy is when someone gets a jumpsuit for the very first time and seeing them put it on, and just, I don't know, it's just, they just stand there in awe in front of the mirror. It's pretty cool.
Yeah.
And then I had a younger gentleman who just got his second jumpsuit, but his first cape, and his mom put cape on, and he was just like swinging it around, and it's a fun thing to watch.
Now, you're outside, right outside the door to the left right there, and you've got all kinds of things. Tell us some of the things that you've got. And I wanted to ask you, as part of that answer, about, if I want to be an ETA, what do I do about scarves?
Okay. So we try to bring as much stuff as we can with us, particularly on bigger shows like this. So we bring jumpsuits and jackets, a lot of shirts, because that's what your normal fan likes to buy. They like to look like Elvis just a little bit. So getting a cool puffy shirt, that's the way to do it. We have a lot of jewelry. We have scarves. Gosh, what else did we bring? Belts. So, I mean, we try to bring just a little bit of everything that we've got in the shop.
Yeah.
So scarves.
A lot of scarves.
A lot of scarves.
And some of your best customers, are, sometimes, mostly, are the ETA sending somebody out like, I need more scarves.
Right. Someone's will send me out, I need a ring in this size, or I need, do you have white scarves? What about blue scarves? There's always a certain combination of colors depending on their, what they're wearing. Even though I always think Elvis really didn't match his scarves to his jumpsuits when he gave them out. They were just, whatever. But
and these guys, everything is about traveling and packing. It's strategic. When Elvis traveled, Richard Davis told me, who worked with his wardrobe, that Elvis pretty much traveled with everything because he didn't know, maybe I want to do that one tonight.
Well, that sounds like us.
Yeah, it's kind of like you traveled.
Right. Every time I think I got it all in the car, I'm like, oh, wait a minute. What if somebody needs?
You have to drive everywhere, don't you? Because you couldn't fly.
The only place when we went to England 2 or 3 times, and we had to pack everything in boxes and fly it over there, ship it over there ahead of time.
Yeah.
And then it didn't get there We had one show that one box of 4 arrived.
Yeah.
It was pretty dismal.
Tell us about your friends here. What are we looking at here?
All right. Well, this gentleman here is wearing the Inca suit and belt, embroidered suit, one designed by Jean Doucette.
I feel like I'm on a red carpet. Who are you wearing? Oh, it's the Inca. Yes, very nice, very nice. What era would this be approximately?
This would be your later
70s. Yeah.
Most of the embroidered are later 70s. That was some of the last suits made for him.
What's your most popular?
Oh, Aloha, probably hands down. Aloha and Concho are some of the probably the 2 most popular. Chain is in there. A lot of people get the chain. Any of the pinwheels, powder blue.
Yeah.
I like the powder blue.
Okay. Inca, thank you very much. You look wonderful.
Yeah.
Thank you. Over here, sir. Your name and where you're from?
And this, we have the tiger suit, which is, pretty iconic in its own right.
This is a lot. I don't know if you can tell from there, but it's embroidered. I mean, the orange and black are pretty much embroidery on it, with highlights of studs, for lighting effect, I guess.
Right. Sparkle on stage.
And the belts just, and Elvis was not as particular sometimes with what belt went with what. All the guys, and we'll talk about it later, the guys they study things like forensic. They study it like Zapruder film. This is,
we
wore
do
this.
A lot of that.
Same thing, detective work.
Yeah, most of my hard drives taken up by just random pictures of Elvis's, hand or his, the bottom of his kick pleat or,
The names of the jumpsuits, were they named when he had them, or is this a fan?
There's usually 2 names for each jump, not always, but a lot of times there's 2 names. There's whatever Bill or Gene named the suit, and then there's what the fans call the suit.
Right.
So, the nail suit, for instance, is also known as the Spectrum.
Because he wore that at the Spectrum concert. Yeah.
King of Spades, also known as either the kitchen sink suit, or I think there's actually 3 names for that. There's a 3rd one.
There's the Memphis. I know they call it the Memphis suit because that was the one he wore in Memphis.
And then some of the suits that are that's an example of a suit that the design is both. There's an embroidered version. There's also a studded version. So the embroidered version of the King of Spades is the Arabian.
Okay, and the eagle there's an embroidered eagle, like American Eagle, embroidered eagle. Okay. Well, thank you for bringing your friends here, and these are available right off the shelf. I'm sure if. What are the chances that somebody can put something on?
Hey, you know what? It does happen. Sometimes somebody tries it on, and it'll be like it's made for them.
Wow.
Yeah.
And you can do jackets of a lot of the jumpsuits.
Yeah. A lot of people that really want a jumpsuit, but really have nowhere to wear a jumpsuit. Like most of us don't. We can pretty much take any jumpsuit and turn it into a jacket. So
Troy Gentry of Montgomery Gentry had
Troy Gentry
one.
used to come to our shop a lot. Actually.
Yeah.
He was a good friend of ours.
He's a big Elvis fan, and lost him too soon. But he loved Elvis and kind of wore those a lot on stage and things. That's the thing I love to see. You can see still the Elvis fashion. I remember being in Vegas years ago, and Britney Spears had a special on HBO, and the poster on the side of a building was her in like a female version of an Elvis jumpsuit that it was like tailored to her, but it wasn't, I don't think it was totally accurate, but it was obviously an Elvis jumpsuit. you still see that. That's just an iconic image.
We did some for Miley Cyrus too.
Yeah.
Actually, we did like 3 for her.
That kind of makes sense.
Yeah.
I can see that. Well, Robin from B&K, thank you for being here. And we really do appreciate you always coming to the festivals and always being a part. And it's a way for us to, and pick up something and wear it to a party outside the Elvis world, and you'll be so cool because people will be like, "Where'd you get that?"
Yeah.
I get B&K.
We love Tupelo. Tupelo is one of our favorite places to be, and it's it helps so much to come to festivals because nothing beats seeing a person in front of you when they're trying something on, or when you measure them yourself. Nothing beats having them in person.
Yeah. Well, thanks for being here. We appreciate it. You got all your guys back there. Robin, Theobald from B&K.